Imagine your boss sends you a short message. Can we talk later? Just that, these four words. No specific tone of voice, no explanation, and no context. One person reads that message and immediately feels their stomach drop. They think, ooh, I'm in trouble. This is bad, and I must have done something wrong. Their body tightens, their mind starts racing, and they start replaying everything they did that week. Another person gets the exact same message and thinks, maybe there's something useful here. Maybe I'm getting feedback, or even maybe I'm getting a promotion. It's the same sentence, the same situation, and the same reality outside, but inside it's two completely different experiences. So, what changed? Well, the message did not change, and the outside world did not change either. What changed was the filter through which the message was interpreted. And this is one of the most important ideas in psychology. You do not experience reality directly, you experience reality through a mental filter. And that filter shapes what you notice, how you interpret it, what you feel, and what you do next. And if you want to understand yourself better, your emotions, your reactions, your patterns, and your relationships, this filter is one of the best places to start. Because a lot of your life is shaped not only by what happens, but by the filter through which you experience what happens. The simplest name for this filter is your frame of reference. Your frame of reference is the mental lens through which you make sense of life. It is made from your past experiences, your expectations, your beliefs, your values, your fears, your goals, your memories, and everything your brain has learned about how the world usually works. It helps answer questions like, what's happening here? Is this safe or dangerous? Is this person helping me or is he judging me? Is this feedback useful or threatening? Is this situation a problem, an opportunity, or a warning? And what should I do next? Your frame of reference is the background system that gives meaning to what you experience. This is why two people can go through the same situation and experience it differently. They are not only responding to the event, but they are also responding to what the event means through their filter. The reason this filter exists is very simple. Reality contains too much information. At every moment, your brain could pay attention to millions of things. The light in the room, the tone of someone's voice, a facial expression, a memory, a body sensation, a possible danger, a possible opportunity, a sound in the background, a message on your phone, what someone said yesterday, and what might happen tomorrow. If your brain tried to process all of that equally, you would be overwhelmed. So the brain has to decide what matters right now, what should enter awareness, and what can be ignored, and what needs action. In other words, your brain does not show you everything. It gives you a pre-selected version of reality. A version that feels complete from the inside, but is actually filtered. And that selection is shaped by your frame of reference. If your brain has learned that rejection is dangerous, it becomes very good at noticing possible rejection. If it has learned that mistakes are unsafe, it becomes very good at noticing signs that you might fail. If it has learned that opportunity matters, it becomes better at noticing openings, feedback, and possibilities. Your filter tells your brain what deserves attention. Imagine you walk into a room after an awkward week with someone. If your filter is set to, they probably don't like me, then your attention starts searching for evidence of this. Who didn't smile? Who looked away? Who sounded colder than usual? Who didn't include you in the conversation? And because those things are what you notice, they start to feel like the truth. But if your filter is set to, I want to understand what is actually happening, your attention works very differently. You might notice someone looks tired, someone else is distracted, one person is actually friendly, and the situation is more mixed than your first reaction suggested. Same room, different attention, and different experience. This is the first thing your filter does. It shapes what becomes psychologically visible to you. Because what your attention highlights becomes the material your mind uses to build your reality. The second thing your filter does is interpretation. It does not only decide what you notice, it also decides what it means. So if someone replies with, okay, that is the event. But your filter may turn it into, they are angry, they don't care, I did something wrong. Or if it is dialed more positively, they are busy, they're just being brief, there isn't enough information yet. The same thing happens with feedback. One person can hear feedback as, I'm being attacked, and another can hear it as, this is information I can use for improvement. The words may be similar, but the meaning is very different. And once the meaning changes, the entire experience changes. This is why interpretation is so powerful. Most of the time, you are not only reacting to what happened, but you are reacting to what your mind thinks it means. The third thing your filter shapes is your emotion. A feeling is often the body's response to interpreted meaning. If your mind reads something as danger, your body will prepare for danger. If your mind reads something as rejection, you will feel hurt, anxious, or ashamed. If your mind reads something as opportunity, you will feel curious, focused, or motivated. This is why the message the person got from their boss creates different emotions in different people. Can we talk later? If the filter says, this means I'm in trouble, the emotion becomes anxiety. If the filter says, this may be useful feedback, the emotion becomes curiosity or focus. Same sentence, different meaning, and thus different feeling. This does not mean feelings are fake. Feelings are very real, but they are often based on an interpretation. And when the interpretation changes, the feeling can change too. The fourth thing your filter shapes is action. If something feels like danger, you may avoid it. If it feels like an attack, you may defend yourself. If it feels like rejection, you may withdraw from the situation. If it feels like opportunity, you may lean in. And if it feels like feedback, you may ask questions and improve. This is where the filter becomes extremely important, because it does not just shape your inner world, it also shapes your life. The way you interpret situations influences the actions you take, and the actions you take create new experiences. And those new experiences train the filter further. So, if your filter keeps saying, people will reject me, you may avoid connection. Then you get fewer experiences of being socially accepted. And the filter stays the same. If your filter says, I can handle difficult conversations, you are more likely to stay present, ask questions, and learn that some conflict can be managed. The filter shapes the action shapes the future filter. That's why this is so important. So why does the brain work this way? Why doesn't it just show you reality as it is? Well, because the brain is not a camera. A camera records what is in front of it. A brain has to help a living being survive. Your brain has to help you function in a world that is fast, complex, uncertain, and full of incomplete information. You usually have to act before you know everything. You have to decide whether to trust someone before you can prove they are trustworthy or not. You have to respond to a facial expression before you know exactly what it means. You have to make choices without seeing the whole future. And you have to interpret situations while information is missing. So the brain gives you a usable version of reality, a simplified version, a selected version, and a version organized around what seems important. That is what the filter does. It helps the brain handle complexity. It helps you move before certainty, and it helps you decide what matters most. That is how the brain handles a world that is too complex to be able to be processed all at once. The problem begins when the filter becomes outdated, too narrow, too threat-focused, or based on old experiences that no longer fit your current reality. A filter that once protected you can later limit you. A filter built around criticism may help you avoid mistakes, but may also make every piece of feedback feel dangerous to you. A filter built around rejection may help you notice social risk, but it may also make safe people feel unsafe. And a filter built around control may help you prepare, but it may also make every uncertainty feel uncomfortable. That is why we need to understand the filter. So, now let's look at how you can use this knowledge to become who you could be by applying psychology. We'll start with 3 simple questions. First, separate the event from the interpretation. What did you actually observe? What exact words were used? And what do you know for sure? For example, my boss sent, "Can we talk later?" This is what happened. Everything after that may be interpretation. Second, ask, what meaning did my mind add? Did I add danger? Did I add rejection? Did I add failure? Did I add judgment? Or did I add certainty where things are still uncertain? This question helps you see the filter in action. Third, ask, what expectations might be shaping my interpretation? Maybe the story is, people notice me when I mess up. Feedback means I failed. Silence means rejection. Conflict is always bad. And if I make a mistake, I'm unsafe. Once you can name the story, you are already less trapped inside it. Because now it's no longer reality. It is a possible interpretation of reality. And possible interpretations can be examined and changed. Let's apply this to the boss message we talked about earlier. The event was, my boss said, "Can we talk later?" What I added was, "Oh, I'm in trouble." The mind's story underneath is, when authority wants to talk, something bad is coming. Now you can ask, is that the only possible meaning? Maybe it is feedback, maybe it is planning, maybe they need information, maybe they want to discuss an opportunity, and maybe they are stressed about something unrelated. The goal is not to force a positive story. The goal is to stop treating the first story as the only story. That is the beginning of freedom. Because a lot of suffering begins when interpretation is mistaken for reality. This video is the first of 7 videos about the filter through which we see the world. Today we introduce the filter. In the next videos, we'll look at the different parts of it more deeply. Because understanding your filter is just the first step. To really change it, we need to go a lot deeper. So, the main idea is simple. You do not experience the world as it is. You experience it through a mental filter. And that filter shapes what you notice, how you interpret it, what you feel, and what actions you take. And that filter is how the brain handles a world that is too complex to process all at once. But once you understand that your experience is filtered, you can start to examine the filter. In real situations, ask yourself, what actually happened? What did I add? And what story or expectation may be shaping my interpretation? Because the moment you realize that you are looking through a filter, you are no longer completely trapped inside of it. And that is how you become who you could be by applying psychology. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see the rest of the series, please like and subscribe, and comment down below, what is one situation where you notice your filter taking over in life?